Chapter 7 of Seven Wives and Seven Prisons, or Experiences in the Life of a Matrimonial Maniac, a True Story. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Seven Wives and Seven Prisons, or Experiences in the Life of a Matrimonial Maniac, a True Story, by L.A. Abbott. Chapter 7. Wedding a Widow and the Consequences. I marry a widow, 6 weeks of happiness, confiding a secret and the consequences, the widow's brother, sudden flight from Newark. In Hartford, Connecticut, my wife's sister betrays me, trial for bigamy, sentenced to 10 years' imprisonment. I become a bobbin boy, a good friend. Governor Price visits me in prison. He pardons me. 10 years' sentence fulfilled in 7 months. Why in the world did Captain Brown ever tempt me with the prospect of a profitable patience in Newark? I had no thought of going to that city, and no business there except to see if I could cure Captain Brown's daughter. With my matrimonial monomania, it was like putting my hand into the fire to go to a fresh place where I should see fresh faces, and where fresh temptations would beset me. And when I went to Newark, I went only, as I supposed, to see a single patient. But Captain Brown prevailed upon me to stay to take care of his daughter, and assured me that he and his friends would secure me a good practice. They did. In 2 months I was doing as well in my profession as I had ever done in any place where I had located. I might have attended strictly to my business, and in a few years have acquired a handsome competence. But as ill luck, which strangely enough I then considered good luck, would have it, when I had been in Newark some 2 months, I became acquainted with a buxom, good-looking widow, Mrs. Elizabeth Roberts. I protest today that she courted me, not I her. She was fair, fascinating, and had a goodly share of property. I fell into the snare. She said she was lonely. She sighed. She smiled. And I was lost. Would that I had observed the elder Weller's injunction, beware of widders! Would that I had never seen the widow Roberts, or rather that she had never seen me. 8 weeks after we first met, we were married. We had a great wedding in her own house, and all her friends were present. I was in good practice with as many patients as I could attend to. She had a good home, and we settled down to be very happy. For 6 weeks, only 6 weeks, I think we were so. We might have been so for 6 weeks, 6 months, 6 years longer, but alas! I was a fool. I confided to her the secret of my first marriage and separation, and she confided the same secret to her brother, a well-to-do wagon-maker in Newark. So far as Elizabeth was concerned, she said she didn't care, so long as the separation was mutual and final, since so many years had elapsed, and especially since I hadn't seen the woman for full 6 years, and was not supposed to know whether she was alive or dead, why, it was as good as a divorce, so reasoned Elizabeth, and it was precisely my own reasoning, and the reasoning which had got me into numberless difficulties, to say nothing of jails and prisons. But the brother had his doubts about it, and came and talked to me on the subject several times. We quarreled about it. He threatened to have me arrested for bigamy. I told him that if he took a step in that direction I would flog him. Then he had me brought before a justice for threatening him, with a view to having me put under bonds to keep the peace. I employed a lawyer who managed my case so well that the justice concluded there was no cause of action against me. But this lawyer informed me that the brother was putting, even then, another rod in pickle for me, and that I had better clear out. I took his advice. I went to the widow's house, packed my trunk, gathered together what money I could readily lay hands upon, and with about $300 in my pocket, I started for New York, staying that night at a hotel in Cortlandt Street. The following morning I went over to Jersey City, hired a saddle horse, and rode to Newark. The precise object of my journey I did not think I knew myself, but I must have had some vague idea of persuading Elizabeth to leave Newark and join me in New York or elsewhere. I confess, too, that I was more or less under the influence of liquor, and considerably more than less. However, no one would have noticed this in my appearance or demeanor. I rode directly to Elizabeth's door, hitched my horse, and went into the house. The moment my wife saw me, she cried out, "For God's sake, get out of this house and out of town as soon as you can! They have been watching for you ever since yesterday. They've got a warrant for your arrest. Don't stay here one moment." I asked her if she was willing to follow me, and she said she would do so if she only dared, but her brother had made an awful row, and had sworn he would put me in prison anyhow. I had better go back to New York and await events. I started for the door and was unhitching my horse when the brother and a half dozen more were upon me. I sprang to the saddle. They tried to stop me. The overeager brother even caught me by the foot, but I dashed through the crowd and rode like mad to Jersey City, returned the horse to the livery stable, crossed the ferry to New York, went to my hotel, got my trunk, and started for Hartford, Connecticut, where I arrived in the evening. This was in the month of June, 1854. I went to the old Exchange Hotel in State Street, and very soon acquired a good practice. Indeed, it seems as if I was always successful enough in my medical business. My mishaps have been in the matrimonial line. When I had been in Hartford about 3 months and was well settled, I thought I would go down to New York and see a married sister of Elizabeth's who was living there, and try to find out how matters were going on over in Newark. That I found out fully, if not exactly to my satisfaction, will appear anon. When I called at the sister's house, the servant told me she was out, but would be back in an hour. So I left my name, promising to call again. I returned again at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and the sister was in, but declined to see me. As I was coming down the steps, a policeman, who seemed to be lounging on the opposite side of the street, beckoned to me, and suspecting nothing, I crossed over to see what he wanted. He simply wanted to know my name, and when I gave it to him, he informed me that I was his prisoner. I asked, "For what?" And he said, "As a fugitive from justice in New Jersey." This was for taking the pains to come down from Hartford to inquire after the welfare of my wife, whose sister, the moment the servant told her I had been there and would call again, had gone to the nearest police station and given information or made statements which led to the setting of this latest trap for me. The policeman took me before a justice who sent me to the Tombs. On my arrival there I managed to pick up a lawyer, or rather one of the sharks of the place picked me up, and said that for $25 he would get me clear in 3 or 4 hours. I gave him the money, and from that day till now I have never set eyes upon him. I lay in a cell all night, and next morning Elizabeth's brother, to whom the sister in New York had sent word that I was caged, came over from Newark to see me. He said he felt really sorry for me, but that he was bound to put me through. He then asked me if I would go over to Newark without a requisition from the governor of New Jersey, and I told him I would not. Whereupon he went away without saying another word, and I waited all day to hear from the lawyer, to whom I had given $25, but he did not come. So next day, when the brother came over and asked me the same question, I said I would go, wherein I was a fool, for I ought to have reflected that he had had 24 hours in which to get a requisition, and that he might in fact have made application for one already, without getting it, and every delay favored my chances of getting out. But I had no one to advise me, and so I went quietly with him and an officer to the ferry, where we crossed and went by cars to Newark. I was at once taken before a justice, who, after a hearing of the case, bound me over under bonds of only $1,000 to take my trial for bigamy. If I could have gone into the street I could have procured this comparatively trifling bail in half an hour. As it was, after I was in jail I sent for a man whom I knew and gave him my gold watch and $100, all the money I had, to procure me bail, which he promised to do, but he never did a thing for me, except to rob me. A lawyer came to me and offered to take my case in hand for $100, but I had not the money to give him. I then sent to New York for a lawyer whom I knew, and when he came to see me he took the same view of the case that Elizabeth and I did, that is, that the long separation between my first wife and myself, and my presumed ignorance as to whether she was alive or dead, gave me full liberty to marry again. At least, he thought any court would consider it an